Ansible needs to know, what am I going to go configure? Okay? And we describe to it what it's going to go configure with a thing called an inventory file. Now the neat thing is we can name the inventory file anything we want to. Convention usually, we'll just say convention says called a host file, but we can name it things like Futurama Crew if we want to. The bigger deal is that the way the file is set up, the structure in which the file is set up, and that you use a few maybe Ansible keywords to describe to Ansible how to access that target system. Pretty straightforward stuff. Right here you see Planet Express, and let's go ahead and just say Planet Express is a group name. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Anything under the word Planet Express then we would describe as belonging to that group. And we can have multiple groups in this file if we wanted to. However, here we just have a single group. It's called Planet Express. Within Planet Express, we could look at Bender, and to the side of it, we could see this Ansible control word. There's quite a few you could have inside of an inventory file. To know all of them, you probably want to click over to the Ansible documentation website. It's easy, just Google Ansible Docs. And you can study a bunch of those. But the two we see here, fairly straightforward. The Bender host, this is the IP address we want it to go to. And that's easy to understand. Systems can be multi-home. They could have multiple IP addresses. DNS resolves it one way. No. Ansible, this is the IP address we want you to use to open your SSH connection. We could say the majority of the time, when we're talking about Ansible, usually we're talking about, or we'll assume, an SSH tunnel is how we're getting to that target system. Not always, but certainly if we're talking about something like the apt module, that's how we're going to access our target server. And right there's the name of the user we should go to. So just imagine SSH Bender at 10.10.2.3. And just for fun, let's make sure we can get there. Let's SSH to Bender at 10.10.2.3. Neat. I'm now Bender at Bender, so I'm there. Excellent. Just take my word for it. We can get to Fry and we can get to Zoidberg as well. So now that we've described to Ansible in this file, just a normal text file here, who we want configured, we have to describe sort of what we want it to do. It's not enough to know who to go visit. It's what do you want me to do once I go visit these places? We describe that in a file, let's call it our playbook. Okay? The playbook is written in YAML, and this is where we would do our Ansible programming, but it's hardly programming. I don't want system admins and I don't want network engineers to get scared by that word programming. It's more like, think of it like Mad Libs, if you ever played that with your kids. And if you didn't, you're about to see what Mad Libs looks like. It's kind of just fill in the blank type coding. I already have our little practice playbook written here. Do apt.sl. This YML is, you might see YML or YAML, YAML. It's another thing to go Google and cover, look at the standard on. It's a structure. Let's think of YAML like we think of grammar. And let's think of English like we think of English, right? It's vocab words. So I think everybody would agree it's possible to know a bunch of English, but not know how to structure it properly, so you can't communicate with the world, right? At least in English. We can think of Ansible the same way. We could know a lot of programming words in Ansible. You know a lot of the keywords, a lot of how to fill in the blanks with Ansible. But if you don't know how to structure it properly, then Ansible can't parse it and understand it. So when we look at this document, the structure, the grammar is called YAML. That's white spacing, essentially. That's our hyphens. That's things like, oh, why are there 3 hyphens up here and 1 hyphen here, and why is this indented? That's all rules of YAML. Words like hosts, gather facts, tasks, apt, those are going to be our Ansible programming words. So just a quick rundown of what's going on here. Up at the top, we see hosts is described as Planet Express. Planet Express is what maps back, previously we saw, to that group up here, Planet Express. So that's a match right there. This is what group are we trying to target. The next thing we see is gather facts. I have that set to true. We could comment this line out. It actually doesn't need to be there. It, by default, is set to true, and that's what I have written here, just a reminder, mostly to me, to talk to that point. Gather facts is simply at the beginning of the SSH tunnel. Go ahead and learn a whole bunch about the system and pull all that information back and make it available to the programmer, because they might want to reference some host-specific information within their template, say, or within their playbook. Say I knew I had to go configure Bender, for example, but I didn't know, and I knew his SSH IP address, for an IPv4 address, but maybe I needed to know like a dynamically applied IPv6 address that gets installed on him. Or maybe I needed to know the operating system that was actually installed on Bender, right? If I learn that, maybe it could get pulled back as a variable and I could just reference that variable later on in my code. That's what gather facts is about, right? So it's not a big deal that it's set to true here. It could be set to false. It won't really hurt us in this situation, but that's what it's there. It's important to know about when you're working with Ansible. The task section, this is sort of, think of these as like global parameters. The tasks now, we're getting into describing these things called modules. A module represents on the back end a chunk of Python code. Right, so when I say, if I look down here, the module I'm actually looking at here is called apt. Okay? And I have developed it into a task. Okay? A playbook may contain many tasks, where each task contains a single module. Each module on the back end is a block of Python code, right? But the neat thing when working with Ansible, I don't care about that Python code, right? I just care about selecting a module like apt from the Ansible website. Last I counted, there was something around 1,100 modules available to you. If you go, well, how do I get a module? You just install Ansible. After Ansible's installed, you have them all there. You just have to know, well, what do they do? You go out to the documentation website and you find out. So I selected apt. I said, okay, that's my module, and I developed around it a task. Tasks are just like parameters. They're like, okay, here's this block of generic Python code. I need to now customize what I want the code to do in my situation. Okay? So I have a single task here. Inside the task is my little apt module. Let's break it down a little further. Right up at the top, name, that would be a static, that's like an Ansible control word, and it allows me to create simply a dynamic name. You'll see when I run the playbook where that shows up. For right now, let's just say it helps me organize my playbook. We'll find out if you kept studying with me, they can be used for pointers and that sort of thing later. But apt is actually the name of the module I want to use. This name and this state, notice that they're indented here. So I know that they're actually applying to this apt up here. Think of this like a series of folders, right? I have like one folder. And on the outside of it, it says name, and that's written on it. Maybe that's on the tab. And then it says apt, maybe written across the folder, right? And it has some other important information written under that. It's like a docket ticket on top of the folder. And then when I open the folder, it has two pieces of information. It has a piece of paper that's the name piece of paper. It says SL. And it has another piece of paper that says state, right, which is currently present. So I go, oh, okay, these two pieces of paper have something to do with apt. Right? They're nested inside of it. So these two parameters, name and state, are described to me if I go out again to the Ansible documentation website. You could read about these. You'd click specifically on the apt module and it would say, hey, there's a bunch of parameters available. There's even more, there's lots more than this, just the two I chose. Name is using apt. What do you want to actually install? What's the name of the software you want me to go get? And maybe if you're new to the Linux world, Ansible, all this stuff, you might be going, I don't know what apt is. So let's answer that real quick. In Linux, there's lots of different distros of Linux, right? Let's talk specifically about like Debian releases, Ubuntu, which is the system I'm currently in. We need ways to pull software down from repositories. Now, you do this every day. You have an Android phone in your pocket. You have an iPhone in your pocket. You would use the Google Play Store. You would use iTunes, right? Or whatever Apple uses, Apple client, to pull down apps. Well, I want to do that in my Ubuntu world as well, in my Linux world. I don't have the Google Play tool here. I don't have the iTunes tool here. Instead, I have apt, which is short for aptitude. So aptitude, you gotta understand, is the apt tool. That's an Ubuntu tool, right? We use it all the time as Linux admins, and when we start developing with Ansible, we find ourselves saying things like, hey, I want to be able to describe using Ansible code that I just want this system to use the apt tool. In this case, go out and get SL from the repo it's connected to, from the Ubuntu store, we'll say. Go out and pull down SL, make sure it's present. So SL, it's Steam Locomotive, and here's all you got to know. If I SSH over to Bender again, and I type SL, nothing happens. It says command not found. So I'm going to exit back to my system, and we're just going to run stuff and see what happens. We'll break it down as it's running. To start, I say Ansible-playbook. Oh, I almost forgot. There's one more piece of this. This true thing here, become true, FYI. This just means this particular task that's been developed, run it with sudo privileges, right? Run it as admin, basically. Think if I'm trying to install software on a target system, wouldn't that make sense? If you install new software on your Android, if you install new software on Windows, if you install new software on your iTunes or your Apple, doesn't it usually ask you for like are you admin rights, right? Usually that's a requirement. That's all that is. So Ansible playbook, the I flag means inventory. So here I just say Futurama crew. And then I just say the playbook I want to run. In this case, it's apt-sl.yaml. And that's enough. That should make some state changes on my 3 target systems. Let's see. We see it starts off and it says, okay, I'm running against Planet Express. I'm going through a gathering facts phase. Remember, that's an SSH over to the target system. Sort of looking around, pulling back lots of variables that I could have referenced in my playbook. It's now saying, okay, it wants to install some packages. This is going to take a little bit of time because it's actually installing software on the target systems. All right, it's all done. It says it made some changes. What's neat, this changed. See under task, the apt module, install packages, that was my name. It said, hey, I made some changes to these systems. Well, watch how powerful Ansible is. If you're thinking Ansible is just bash scripting, I don't know why Zach's teaching me this, it's just bash scripting. It's not. Because watch this, if I run that again, Exact same command. I'm running a second time. Gathering facts so far. Whoa, that's way different. The next time, the third time, the fourth time, Ansible's smart enough to say, I didn't make any changes. Those things were okay. Those changes weren't necessary. Look at my play recap. Right, the play recap up here, it said, hey, I had a bunch of tasks I had to run. Down here, it said, I didn't run any tasks. That's very, very powerful and much different from the way maybe a bash script would run. You know, bash scripts we throw together, they're quick and dirty. Unless you spend a lot of time with them, a lot of time, and you're really good at writing them, you're not going to get this cool idempotent behavior, I guess is what they say. Ansible, that was very little coding to have a playbook that can be run repetitiously and is always predictable. I always know what the outcome's going to be. All right, so let's go ahead and SSH now over to Bender, see the changes that went down. If I now type SL, it's short for steam locomotive, so watch what happens. Ah, neat. A steam locomotive drives across the screen. How cool is that? If I exit out, one quick thing and then we're done here. I'm going to tweak my playbook. And here's the tweak. Just once again to show you how powerful this is. This module is written so that I can alter parameters. I'm going to change present to absent. And let's just run it again. So once again, Ansible playbook, inventory, Futurama crew, the playbook I just altered. So this time I'm not saying I want to see steam locomotive present. I want to see it absent or uninstall it. Use the apt tool. Go ahead and remove it. It says it made a change. Let's go ahead and SSH once again into Bender. And if I type SL, command not found. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So there you go. That's a little taste of how Ansible works, specifically the apt module. If you thought that was cool, if you're thinking to yourself, wow, Zach kind of understands Ansible pretty well, or at least he seems like he does, and maybe Alta3 is a company I want to throw my hat in the ring with. Go ahead and alta3.com, check us out. I'd love to see you in a training event. Also, while you're thinking about it, go ahead and smash the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching this video. We'll see you in the next Alta3 training event.